first thing you want to talk about is Google algorithms, which is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about in the search space.
Yep.
And how does that relate to online reputation management? How do you guys see it differently versus what an SEO might see it for kind of whatever purposes?
Yeah. So what I was, I kind of think of myself as a recovering SEO. My online phone sales business, or a cellular phone business, was all about being number one for free cell phones, T-Mobile phones, singular phones, all those kind of keywords. And it was like really super aggressive SEO. And every time there'd be an algorithm change of any note, you'd see your results change radically.
Right.
I think they used to say then that if your site hasn't been penalized, it's because you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
So build another site, and we were doing re-inclusion requests all the time, and it was kind of a roller coaster. It was good times, but it wasn't. Actually, I have 8 kids, and that's a lot of kids if you want to feed them, and if you're dependent on the Google on beating the Google algorithm to make a living. Then I don't think that's a really good recipe for long-term success, because they're probably, the Google people are smarter than you. So if you're most of the people doing SEO nowadays probably are not trying to beat the algorithm all the time. They're trying to harness it. Well, right. We've kind of gone full on that. When I moved from kind of the SEO side of things over to reputation management, I made the realization that it's that you can SEO your way to get a result higher up, but reputation management is about managing the first 10 results, the 20 results. You're not going to be successful getting all of your own properties, all your preferred properties, by linking and clicking and just these very, very tactical kind of approaches, because ultimately, it's like doing SEO for 20 sites for one keyword. It's like, it's ridiculous. So the approach that we've taken is a very data-centric approach. And it actually started with a client. Everything for us starts with like a need that came from a client. We figure out how to solve it for that client because the client's paying money and they need it, and necessity is the mother of invention. So we actually had this small cap insurance company, and we did a great job for them. We got their reputation to be more appropriate. Some of the things that were less appropriate, less negative, less favorable, started moving down. And they had this one very sticky result. We're 6 months into the project, very sticky result. And there's a lot of comments on there. We don't know if we like these guys. Maybe they're not so good. They are so good. And they had tried everything under the sun, and we had tried everything under the sun. And we said, let's try a different approach. I wonder what the online presence of a small cap insurance company should look like. So we didn't have any tools at the time. So we actually had a guy in the office Google the 23 competitors or like other companies in the same space, and actually took the top 10 results from Google and put them all manually into Excel, into a big table. And then we started manually color coding all the results and saying like, Google Finance is green, and Yahoo Finance is yellow, whatever. We started, can we see a pattern here? And we in fact saw a very strong pattern. We saw that all of these companies, aside from our client, almost every one of them had a Google Finance or Yahoo Finance at about number 5. They all had their corporate site at number 1, and sometimes they had site links. They all had, if they had a Twitter account, the Twitter was like at number 4. We started seeing these really, really strong patterns, and it was kind of like really interesting. At the same time, we were working on reputation management for a Caribbean country, one of the little small Caribbean nations. And that was also kind of new. We'd never worked on the reputation of a country at that point. So we're like, we don't know what the reputation of a country is supposed to look like. Mm-hmm. So we know what they don't want, but we need to think about what they do want. Like what would be normal for them. So we actually, all same exercise. We just kind of Googled this country and looked at that country and all these different islands. And we found that there's like patterns. There's always patterns. The pattern for countries at that time was they always had the country's official website, the tourism website, be number 1. CIA Factbook was number 2. Wikipedia is number 3. A strip of images, number 4. The first image was the map. The second image was the flag. And you look at this and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like the algorithm actually acts very similarly for similar kinds of companies. And that was like this kind of eureka moment. If we can figure out what is normal, then maybe when our client has a reputation management issue, it's because Google isn't seeing the normal things that they would normally see, or they are not seeing them as prominently. Oftentimes, like when we do this kind of analysis, we find out, oh, this client has an issue. because they don't have the things that the other clients have. Like they all have a Bloomberg profile. These guys don't have a Bloomberg profile. They should get one. We started doing.
So that was the issue was Bloomberg?
No. So in this particular case, it was actually really interesting with this insurance company. We looked at all the different elements. My thinking, and that this is kind of borne out, is that if something is ranking in a particular position, it's because there's characteristics of this site or this page or something. It doesn't have to be that it's from a particular publication. It might be another characteristic. So notice that when you look up a brand or executive, a lot of times you have a dated result. A dated result could be a news result, it could be a blog post,
right.
And we found that dated results will oftentimes be displaced by other dated results because it's like there's some kind of character. Google has chosen to write something that has a date. It doesn't matter what the date is, it's like the date itself. For years now, Google has been putting little star ratings right in the Google results. So your Yelp results, your Glassdoor, Indeed, a lot of you'll actually see some stars.
Google used to test showing category sections of the page.
Yep.
So, and even anchored down to those sections.
Yep.
So there's definitely a lot what you're saying is there. So go ahead.
Yeah. So so we started to kind of like deconstruct the elements of what makes something rank. Not like how many links it has or how prominent the keyword is. I think those are good things and they're important. But started thinking like, what type of result is this? And with this insurance company, the type of result was it was a site that had star ratings on it. And in our analysis, we had found that having star ratings is like a characteristic. If Google has chosen to put something that has star ratings on your site, on your first page of Google, in all likelihood, the thing most likely to displace it will be something else that had star ratings.
Okay.
It doesn't even matter if it's the same kind of what this was like. This was like a blog where there was a review, and we identified on the third page of Google a Glassdoor page, which was excellent. They had 4 stars, 4.5 stars or something in Glassdoor, which also had star ratings. We said, this is a little crazy, but what if we optimized that page? And literally we'd link to it. Right. We did linking to this page, not a lot of linking, a little bit of linking to that page, but keyword, anchor text linking to the Glassdoor result. And the theory we shared with the client was, we believe that the reason this is ranking so high is because it has a star rating. We need to find something with star rating, which could legitimately rank, which is relevant for your brand, and give it a little bit of a nudge. Right. And so they actually did the linking. They linked to it from their own, because they had a good Glassdoor rating, they linked to it from their own site. Learn more about our company. Want a job at our company? Here it is, your Glassdoor. And it literally moved up the ranks, and the other one moved down. It did what we call a switch. Right. Yeah, so we think a lot, and because of that, because other things we do, we call it the switch.
You call it the switch, okay.
Yeah, the switch. So like we think about what results switch other results. Like what would swap it out? It's not, again, we're not trying to bamboozle Google. We're trying to say, hey, I like to think about this. If you made a, you had a buffet and because you have some people coming over, and then you found out that that actually this group is gluten-free. And so you've taken all the bread off the table because I don't want to give them something that has gluten in it. So you've taken all the bread off the table, and you have to replace it with something, right? You can't replace the bread with pudding. You've got to replace it with something else. Maybe it's some kind of like a gluten-free bread or like crackers that are appropriate or something. And the same thing is true with Google for sure. Like meaning, if there is a blog post that's negative and that's been really sticky for you, you need to think about a blog post that's positive, because that's the thing most likely, because it's going to have the ingredients. It's going to algorithmically fit. So I would say that, as kind of zooming out, the goal of reputation management is to build an online reputation which reflects this kind of a Venn diagram of what does Google want to show, what do people want to see, and what do you want people to see. And that intersection in the middle is going to typically be things that you own, earned media, profiles, but it's all very deliberate. Like you plan that out. You think about, what would I like to see? And sometimes it leads to, maybe we should do some social media that we're not doing. Like in like half the cases, it's like that we work with corporations, they have video content, but they don't actually have an optimized YouTube channel, for example.
And that ranks pretty high.
And YouTube channels that are optimized will rank really high. And we will work with companies that are like, it's a visual company, it's an experience, we work with some really big brands that are luxury brands, and you're like, there's no images and no video on the first page of Google. That's bizarre. Like your whole brand is about an experience, it's visual.
And you've seen it all. I mean, you've seen, like you said, it's constantly changing, and you've seen those changes from the 10 blue links to universal results with the image pack, the local pack, now all these, it's crazy how Google said last year they did 800,000 different experiments in search, and launched 5,000 different changes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure only a few of them were like pure ranking changes. Most of them were probably visual changes to the search results.
Yeah.
And that's what's most important for you. Obviously, the rankings, all that it matters.
Yeah.
But you're talking right now about visually how things are laid out, and you can use a lot of that to your benefit, which is interesting. I'm glad rip-off reports not an issue anymore, right?
No, they're
I
gone.
remember when somebody emailed me about something, or no, I know what it was. Somebody was using my Rusty Brick brand for something. I emailed them, stop using it. Some SEO, like rustybrickseo.com.
Wow.
I'm like, stop using it. So he's like, okay. Next thing I see is that somebody made a rip-off report about me. It was that guy. And it ranked well at like 9 for like a day because there's so much information about Rusty Brick.
Yeah, just went down.
It was like page 7 the next day.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I was trying so hard to build it up. But I don't do any SEO. I don't need to because of how much exposure.
But you're creating so much content that is all connect to your.
All right, cool. So next thing is the search intent.